Hello, welcome to CXNext Live. This is your host, Ryan Lester. Great to have you here. For those of you joining for the first time, this is a weekly series we do focused on the world of employee support, customer experience, employee engagement. And we're really here to help all of you out there better understand how you can better manage your business, support your employees, deliver better customer service through new tools and capabilities. Many of us have been challenged with working remotely. I'm here in my home office. And changing how we support our employees and our customers through tools, specifically things like remote support tools. This may be new to us, or maybe it kind of been ad hoc previously, or we had maybe more traditional tools of device management of a fleet of devices, and now we have all sorts of new approaches. People may be working on iPads, their own personal devices. They can't no longer bring their device to an IT help desk or service desk. So there's kind of this new wave of challenges that every company is facing. And it's going to be a shift. Even if we go back to a world of working in offices, some employees may choose to work from home, or we may be long-term moving things like contact centers to be more remote work. So this is a challenge that many companies are facing, and it may be the first time they're facing it. And so we have lots of great conversations with companies every day around what they should do, what are best practices, how they kind of move from being reactive to more proactive. And I'm really excited for my conversation today because, once again, we're having these conversations on a daily basis, both within LogMeIn of how we do this work, and also with companies out there across a wide variety of industries. So joining me this week is Chris Handley. Chris is a product manager in our remote support organization and owns the work we do around our Rescue remote support product. Chris, welcome. Great to have you here.
Hi, Ryan. Yeah, thanks for having me, and glad to be here.
Yeah, so to start out, Chris, I know you've been in this space for many years. You're not new to the world of remote support and support solutions. So could you a little bit of background on your current role and what you did before that, and really kind of where you've built up this expertise in the world of remote support?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently the product manager for Rescue, our enterprise remote support tool here at LogMeIn. And I've been with the company about 5 years now. Started off actually in tech support, so I got a really solid, technical understanding of Rescue itself. And from there, I got to move up and work with the TAM team, the technical account managers and the VIPs. And that was a really good gear change to understand, the difference between a smaller account and these large enterprise accounts, and the different challenges they have at the kind of scale they're at. And that really prepared me to go into products. Before I actually got the product, I had a brief stint as a technical relationship manager as well. So I kind of got to take a little break from the technical side and get more into the the relationship side and understand how customers were engaging with us. So I think the last 5 years have really kind of led me to where I am today in product. So
yeah, that's wonderful. And one thing I really love about your journey to product management is, and I don't mean this, I love product managers, but they always think their baby's beautiful and they love their product and they're like, my product's the best thing ever. And I think what's really great about your background is you come at it very much from the customer perspective of you were on the front lines, listening to customers' challenges, helping them solve problems. One thing we talk about a lot in this series is the value of promoting and investing in your frontline folks, those customer service folks, your customer relationship managers, because they really do understand your customer often best because they're dealing with them every day. And so I think what's really great about your perspective is you didn't come at this from a traditional technologist. You came at it as, I really understand what the customer's trying to do, both from large enterprise down through maybe a mid-market company, but you really kind of lived their pain. And I'm sure that brings a wealth of knowledge and experience for you as you're trying to define, well, where do we want to go forward and where are we going to take Rescue as a product, and how do we stay ahead of the next round of challenges coming from our customers or future customers?
Absolutely. I guess you could say I've seen all the skeletons in Rescue's closet, and now it's time for me to kind of get some of those out. So
that's great. Yeah, that's really good. That's great. So I know you're out there having kind of daily conversations with companies as they're addressing this rapid change, and that's really transformed the way they work from the pandemic. And I know that we're going to talk through 4 key steps that you see as a recipe for success. But before we do that, I'm just interested, would you provide some background, just in general, what are you hearing, and what are some common pain points that you're seeing companies are facing with this change?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, overall usage is obviously up as companies have moved on to a fully remote workforce. And really, I'd say the 2 biggest challenges that are being faced right now are security. How can customers ensure their environment's secure, their employees are secure as they support them remotely, and connectivity, obviously being the other one. No longer being in an office environment with the infrastructure that was there, and now being in a home environment. How do you overcome that challenge of everyone being on their own different internet connection and ensuring that they can get connected as they need?
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure everybody can relate to that. And even for myself, I work at a tech company, and we've been trying to manage it here. And I ran a new Ethernet line for my wife because she wasn't getting the best Wi-Fi connection. I think it's these like little things that we take for granted when we're in an office environment. And once again, we have an IT team ready there every day to make our lives easy and productive. In this current environment, we don't have that same level of expertise, local expertise, or kind of folks on site to help. So you do have to make it easy and simple, but also secure and scalable. So that all very much resonates with me as a user, and then I'm sure resonates with what you're talking with companies out there.
Absolutely. I mean, I had a technician tell me that the only way he could get connected was through tethering, via his cell phone, which was like, mind
Oh my
blowing to me.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, yeah, agreed. And I think the good thing is, though, these are the extreme conditions. So if we can make these extreme conditions work, then obviously it makes everything else seem super easy.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
So there's 4 steps that you've been working on with folks, and I think it's nice because one great thing is you're bringing these learnings from all the different conversations you're having, and then plus the work you've been doing here at LogMeIn for the last 5 years. And so there's these 4 steps of first, focusing on overcoming early challenges. Second, supporting uncharted employees' needs, which I think you just gave a great example. 3, arming IT support teams with superpowers. And then 4, staying connected to employees. So let's talk through those 4 steps and really, what do they mean? What are some of the signals that you're at that step? And then how are companies overcoming them? So the first one was overcoming early challenges. So tell me more what you mean by that.
Yeah, so when any company transitions to a fully remote workforce, I mean, LogMeIn went through this same kind of pain. You've got this infrastructure that wasn't really being used at its full potential. You've got VPNs, you've got software equipment, and now suddenly you've gone from a few remote users to hundreds, if not thousands, all in one shot. And so ensuring that infrastructure can handle that increased load first and foremost is key. I've talked to customers that they weren't really prepared for this. They were kind of in some of the last countries to be affected by the virus, and so they were kind of watching it saying, oh well, it's not going to impact us. And then all of a sudden, guess what, they're in lockdown and they're scrambling to try and get this, for example, the VPN stood up and in a position where it can handle all the extra traffic that's being thrown
Yes.
at it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, these were never, it was like no one planned for these extreme cases. And
Exactly.
and what now is an extreme case, or what was an extreme case, is now needed to just run typical business operations.
Yeah.
So I think your point is a good one, is they can come across a variety of different fronts, and it could be, once again, related to a technology like VPN, or it could be related to the type of devices they're using, or it could be related to the access to information, or even our old workflow was an in-person workflow,
Yeah.
where you have to go to a desk and swap out a device, and now we can't do that, or at least not do that at scale. So the process has to be changed because the old way just won't work.
Right. Like if my laptop dies, and I previously I just walk down to my IT desk and
Yes.
hand it in and swap it out. Well, what am I going to do now? I got to do we get FedEx? How are we going to get this machine to our employee in the field?
Yeah, and I
That's a
think
very real problem.
Yeah, I know. What's interesting too is that it's a problem on both ends of the line, for lack of a better term, of it's a problem both for the employee who says, hey, my laptop's not working, but now there isn't, that IT employee necessarily sitting at their workstation or their, service desk where they have the same access to, whether it be on-premise tools or hardware or whatever else. So to your point, it's a double-ended problem that once again probably throws a lot of things on top of their head.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think about I was talking to a company last week, and they had this program that their employees needed to get to their single sign-on provider, and it was locked down previously. Now they could only get to it from within the office, and when they went remote, there literally was no one there that could make the change. So they had to have
Wow.
one guy go in and grant access to all these new IPs that were being added to the system. So it's a real example of a problem.
Yeah, that's great. And I'm sure something folks can relate to. All right, so step one is overcoming early challenge. I think that's a great example of just like identifying those things that are systemic and are kind of holding your teams back from moving forward. The second is supporting uncharted employee needs. So tell me more about that and what you've seen as examples of this.
Yeah, so this is an interesting one. You think about an office or something you need for your day-to-day work, and it's your work laptop. And in the office, that's plugged into the wall or wherever you are at your desk. But when you move that into a user's home, it's not just about that machine anymore. It's is it connected to their router? Is it connected
Mm-hmm.
to their home equipment? And now you've suddenly got to understand their entire environment that the employee or even the customer is working in. And so it's how do you overcome that challenge of supporting not only your works equipment, but everything else around it and connected to it. Printer, another great example. Maybe, in the office, we're just connected. We don't have to think about it. But now we're at home. It's like, you've got to be the one to make that connection and set it up. And these IT teams, they've gone from supporting a very specific known set of devices to suddenly anything that can be in their employees' homes. So
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful tip, and I've lived that. I was having issues with my art printer here and how I was using it and connecting to it, and even we did a recent software update, and then there was some change I need to make to my docking station. So I think that there's a lot of examples of where, to your point, the scope was narrow previously because IT could control it
right.
and could define it, and now it's opened up, and we can't just say, oh well. Because we want employees to be productive, and we may even have less employees that are able to do the work. So it becomes mission critical for us to be really focused on keeping them productive, but in your point, in an environment that has a lot more variables.
Yeah, the variables are what's going to kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. I think once again, I think people can really resonate with those. Before we jump to steps 3 and 4, I just want to do a quick update for folks out there. If you may have joined partway through, this is CXNext Live. It's a weekly series we do focused on customer experience, employee experience, tools and technology to help you better run your business. And this week we're focused on the change that's come around how we support our employees and in some cases our customers through things like remote support tools. In many cases, our employees may be working in new environments with new tools, maybe using an iPad to do work versus their traditional laptop or desktop device. And how do we enable our teams to be supported in a secure way and in a scalable way to help us keep our businesses efficient and running smoothly? Chris is joining me, who's runs our product team for our rescue product here at LogMeIn, excuse me. And he's really shared some insights he's had talking with lots of different companies out there about their best practices, where they've had challenges in supporting the pandemic and their employee base, and also what's working best. We're talking through 4 key steps. Overcoming early challenges is a step 1. Supporting uncharted employee needs is step 2. And now we're going to talk a little bit more about step 3 and step 4. So Chris, that step 3 was arming your IT support team with superpowers. What do you mean by that? Tell me a little more about that as a topic.
Yeah, so I think you can really break this one down into 2 pieces. Flexibility and allowing your employees to connect with the IT team in a way that's familiar and intuitive to them. So you want to make that connection process as smooth as possible, whether it's, from your intranet portal or something that the employees are already familiar with. You don't really want to throw too much at them at once because, they're obviously dealing with working from home. And then the second part to that is once you're in the session, you want to be as productive as possible because, we've all got meeting fatigue. We're all glued to our machines for an extended amount of time anyway. So leveraging the tools you have at hand to be as efficient as possible and get through that session as quickly as possible is definitely key as well. Obviously Rescue being my product, there's a ton of different tools that we have in the product to kind of facilitate that. I can think of scripting being one example, just a way that you can kind of automate some of these steps that an IT technician might take repeatedly, for example. That's, important to get through it as quickly as possible and get the employee back to their day, or at least give them a break, let me walk away from my machine.
Yeah, that's great. I think that that's a really good example of where, as changes in processes, evolve, how are you giving your employees the right tools to be productive in their work and do their work in the right way? And I think scripting is a great example where it's, hey, we want to give them, maybe things have changed, or maybe there's a new way we're doing debugging, or there's a new way we want to, install a patch. And the scripting helps them avoid some of the, uncertainty and create a more standardized process, and also accelerates that work. So once again, as employees feel less burdened by, oh, now another thing I have to go figure out. No, now I have a standard process for doing this, and I can do it at scale, and know I can, manage it in a repeatable way, and it's better for the end customer, the user, the employee on the other side of the line, because they're getting back to their work faster. So that's a great example of where, these little things, these like kind of little capabilities can become superpowers to empower teams to be more productive.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you amplify that saved, minute, 2 minutes over the course of hundreds of sessions, and it's a massive time saving. So.
Yeah, and I think also what's great there too is as teams are getting closer to the customer and they do find a new problem, so they they do know there's some issue with VPN, or some issue with printers, or some with some new some change in software. Once they identify that challenge by doing a remote session and they debug it, now all of a sudden they can say, oh great, for any future interaction we're now going to standardize that work. So it also becomes a really nice way to make it repeatable, so that the next support session, they're not figuring that out for the first time. They're like, oh, we've seen this before, we know how to solve it, and it makes more repeatable work, which leads to better outcomes.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to, the first part of that, the connection process, obviously the flexibility that Rescue provides, I think has really come to the forefront for a lot of customers, because maybe in the office they were just giving out PIN codes or something like that.
Yes.
Now they've gone remote. They're like, you know what? We want to make it as simple as possible. Let's deploy the calling card to everyone. They can access it from a home on their desktop. It's simple. It's quick. So I'm seeing a lot of that as well. Changes in a company's workflow to kind of adapt to the new normal that we're all experiencing.
Yeah, exactly right. Like what's going to make it easier for everybody involved, so that we're removing that friction, and once again, helping our team scale, address key challenges, and also helping our employees stay productive. That's great. So the last one of our 4 steps here is staying connected to employees. So tell me more what you mean by that, and why that's important as a 4th step.
Yeah. So I mean, being remote and not having your IT team, whether it's down the hall or in the next room, it's daunting for anyone that's not necessarily tech savvy. So ensuring that your employees have that constant connection to the IT team, whether it's an internal web portal, or a Slack channel, for example, just some way that I have a quick lifeline, so to speak, to get through to IT, and I know it's there, I know where it is, because there's nothing worse than me sitting at home and it's like, hey, I got this problem with whatever program, and well, I don't know what to do now. How do I get back to work? How do I contact my IT team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that especially it becomes even more amplified in this remote world where it's, a new problem emerges and I'm like, well, how do I solve this problem? Who do I even go to? And I think it's on both sides, is both for the end employee who's just trying to get back to doing work and, is probably frustrated because now they have to manage all the stuff they never had to manage before, but also for the IT teams of the quicker they can get to resolution, the better, and processes are changing for them as well. So, how do we get closer to them through tools that are easy to use and don't add more friction, and make it, feel like, hey, it's been easy. Like, I feel like reaching out to this group, it's going to be easy to connect. It's going to be easy to solve my problem. So I'm more promoted to do it versus, trying to fix it myself or, feeling frustrated and then, leading to negative outcomes because I'm annoyed as an employee and the IT person's annoyed as well. So I think that's a really good point. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was just going to say that's a good point, about the employee frustration wanting to fix it yourself. I think that's every IT, help desk worst nightmare is,
exactly.
An employee trying to go through, well, I could probably figure this out. Well, probably going to cause more damage than it's worth at that point. So
agreed. Or they're lost in like, some Reddit page, 8 layers deep. And it's like, that's not what we want our employees spending time on. Get back to being productive and doing your job. So I think that's great as well. And it goes back to just usually, once IT knows what the problem is, they usually have the best outcome. It's just a challenge of, can they get to the problem? Can they properly identify and can they do it in a way that, makes it quick and easy so the user feels like it's going to be a good use of their time and a good use of the IT person's time. And so much of this is just, putting the right tools and technology in the IT employee's hands to make it easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's needs are different, and excuse me, ensuring that your employees are in a position where they can reach out in a manner that's familiar with them. So, like I said, the different methods that are available to them are crucial. Whether it's email, IT ticketing system, CRM, that flexibility that we offer is definitely key.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, you don't, the common thing we talk about a lot in this series is, be where the customer is or be where the employee is. So make it easy for them to gain access to these things. So once again, they're not spending just as much time trying to get a hold of you as they would actually solving the problem.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, Chris, this has been great. So we've talked through kind of these 4 key steps companies should be thinking about or working on as they're trying to work through their, transition to remote work and to, dealing with many of the challenges that have come along with the COVID-19 pandemic, focusing on step 1, overcoming early challenges, step 2, supporting uncharted employee needs, step 3, arming your IT support teams with superpowers, and you give some great examples. And then finally, step 4, staying connected to their employees, where the employee is and where they're trying to get their work done. So Chris, I really have appreciated the time, and you bring a lot of great insights into all the great conversations you've had with customers over the years and currently with companies out there. So I want to thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Ryan. It was great speaking to you.
Yeah, and so for all of you out there, please feel free to post any questions or comments. We'll follow up with those if there's additional things you're looking for us to dig into in more detail. Obviously, the world of remote support, both supporting employees and customers, is more of a need than ever. So please feel free if you'd like us to deep dive on any of these topics in more detail. I want to thank you for joining us this week. Please feel free to share this recorded, and also feel free to hit us up with other topics you'd like us to dig into in more detail. Thank you for joining. Please check us out next week in our continued series of CXNext Live. Be well, take care, and talk to you soon. Thanks so much.